right, we are sitting down with the developers of the game Stay for PC and Xbox One, Inaki Diaz and Dani Moya. Did I say those names correctly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, awesome. And we also have with us, friend of the show, Laceya Finley, coming back just because she's had some early experience with the game. She's been doing game reviews and hints and puzzles and everything. We wanted to get her input as well. How you doing, Lace?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me as always, man. I love it.
Awesome. All right, guys. First question I want to ask, and I guess this is more for the audience in general. Tell everyone a little bit about the game to kind of get them initiated as to why they would want to play this game.
I guess it's hard to define. Stay is basically an adventure game. It has some aspects taken from visual novels genre, but also from adventure games because it has quite a bit of hard puzzles on it. So it's kind of a combination, and we tend to define it more as an experience than a pure game because we try to get rid of the typical elements from games, such as indications or information or tutorials. So everything is pretty cryptic and abstract, and we encourage users to self-discover things and just figuring out the rules is part of the fun for us when we were designing the game. Mm-hmm. And basically the premise is with this guy has been abducted somehow, and he wakes up in a room where there's nothing, just a computer. So the players, we cannot control this character, we play as ourselves, and we need to create this sort of connection with this character and try to lead him toward the right path to get out of that place and to discover what happened. So the one thing is this kind of conversation where we connect with him and chat with him and try to create that bond and help him in his journey. And the other aspect is the real time. So again, we try to simulate as much as possible that there's other life depending on your acts and your support. So every time you quit the game and you exit the game, the time keeps counting for this guy. So we transfer the sense of guilt and a little bit of the pressure towards the player. So that connects directly with the name of the game, which is Stay. So players immediately feel that they shouldn't leave and they should keep going with this adventure till the end.
Yeah, it's a very effective process. I know that I played enough to where I didn't want to leave, because I felt that connection. And even if I was tired, I was like, I need to go to bed, but I want to stick around with him. I don't want to leave him. So you did a really good job at making that connection without anyone really realizing it. It's just there and you find yourself connected to him. So I really dug how you did that. Were there any ideas that came about, or I guess beforehand, that kind of inspired how you approach this game?
Want to go, Dani, or should I?
Yeah, you can go. I don't remember exactly the moment that this idea of the game came up. Just thinking out loud, something like a Tamagotchi, for instance, where you have to keep talking with some guy, but it wasn't even kidnapped or something. That came later on when we were developing the game. We just thought that maybe it's okay to have a story. So we're trying to explain or tell a story, but in real time and with these elements of like a Tamagotchi that you cannot leave it for a long time. You have to feed him, but with your own presence and your talking and the kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first joke was to make a imaginary friend on WhatsApp that's chasing you constantly. I have a contact and I don't know who that is, but it's constantly just chasing me. And then eventually that merged with the story that we want to tell. And then it was key to have our writer, she was keen enough to merge the story that we want to tell with this crazy idea of a guy put in a basement somewhere and she just like triggered both elements and build that story, which we cannot tell much, unfortunately, because it would spoil the everything. But the two elements like were like made for each other, like without much anticipation, and we weren't like constantly thinking about that, but it just came up naturally, and they were like meant to be with each other, and that's what. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell you that we had everything in place before building the game. It was like a natural process, and we went through different bumps, and eventually it all came together this way. And that's some reviews have said, and I think it's pretty accurate, that this game is not perfect, but it's raw and it's like honest, and it's like it's ourselves in it. Full transparency, and that's how we would feel about the project.
Oh yeah, I would agree. It's even in saying that there's frustrations or the puzzles are frustrating. Knowing what I know, I felt that it was a necessary part of it. I felt like if you didn't have that, you missed the point. So, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, because I want people to play this. I want them to experience it like I did. And I agree. Despite how difficult it can be, it needs to be that, because if you don't, you completely miss the point of the game. So I respect that decision for sure.
Yeah, it's something that we have realized now that for some reason users or gamers are not like used to experience bad feelings when playing. They kind of reject bad feelings. We wanted to generate the same kind of feelings that Queen is going to. So we want users to feel frustration. We want users to feel lost when they are in some particular puzzle, for instance. Mm-hmm. So that is part of the journey that you need to do. And we understand that this is not, some people say, oh, if it's not fun, it's not a game. I need to figure it that quickly. If I'm not able to figure this puzzle quickly, you did a bad job of signing the puzzle. And for us, it's part of the process. This, like, feeling this frustration is needed somehow.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
The most difficult part for us has been definitely how to balance the difficulty of the game, and I mean the puzzles, and how this difficulty makes sense in the game. That's by large the most difficult part for us. We could have lowered the difficulty of the puzzles just to please everyone, and then the story gets a little weak, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we wanted to say, okay, so this is our opinion of the game, how we wanted for the people to play this game, but now we also want to for the most part of the people to enjoy this game. So we are making some balance and adjustments to refine the puzzles, but to still have the essence of the whole game.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can only imagine how hard that is to try to find that balance, because again, you understand those puzzles are there because you're supposed to be frustrated. You're in a difficult situation. Like, it's not supposed to just be spoon-fed to you. But I'm sure you've already noticed that gamers are the most vocal when they're upset about not being able to draw the dots or connect the dots right away. So, yeah, you're right. I'm sure you've gotten all kinds now.
Yeah, no kidding.
They are always more outspoken when they are frustrated than we are pleased.
They're coming to you after they've been at it for an hour and ready to flip all the tables, right? Like, talking them off the ledge.
We understand their frustrations. Mm-hmm. We do.
Now, Lace, I'm going to turn to you for just a brief second. You got stuck on Chapter 11, which seems to be the
going trend, right?
Now, famous.
It's now the infamous wall, yes.
Now, explain your feelings of that puzzle, like because you came to me at one point. It's like, I can't figure this out. Help me out. And like, what were you going through when you were experiencing that puzzle for the first time before you actually solved it?
I hit a wall, pun intended. No, like when I was going through it, of course, now, for the sake of this, I did have an early review copy. So those of you who are just picking it up now, it's going to look a little different. And even there was an update today, so I don't even know what it looks like as it sits right now. But I was happy to know that I was on the right track. So like going through it, I kept thinking that the peacock had a little bit more to do with it. It was actually kind of fun to collaborate with Steven back and forth, because him and I were both like, what? And then we'd try this and we'd do that. And we were on the right track, but it was making that feeling of frustration, because at the first time I was playing it, I was still under the impression, even as I'm playing the game, time is ticking on for him. So I was getting a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of panic, not knowing if I'm taking way too long on this puzzle. And by the time I'm done, will he have killed himself with a brick or something? You know, like, I don't know. All of those things are going through my mind. So coming to the conclusion, I'm very thankful that I had you guys to help me out, because I'm still not sure if I myself would have figured it out, coming from a standpoint of I've played puzzle games, but I'm not proficient in puzzle games. So sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to think like the developer, you know? So like that's how I try to attack a lot of puzzles, is trying to, leading up to that point, what was the developer hoping that I was going to solve this puzzle in this certain way, because there's always logic to it, whether we get it or not. You know, there was always a reason why the developer put it there and did it the way that they did. So yeah, it was mostly for me a lot of anxiety, and then yeah, after about an hour, I will admit I was getting extremely frustrated. And then when Steven didn't have a clue, and I'm like, you know what, I suck. That was all I kept thinking. I'm like, I'm not got the brain power to figure it out. Yeah, I mean, was it that way for you also?
Yeah, I feel like that at some point I probably was very close, because like you said, the peacock was a clue, the minesweeper idea was a clue, and I was like, I know I'm getting this. There's something I'm missing here. And
yeah, for those of you who may not be old enough to remember Minesweeper, that might be another thing too.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of an older game.
But even as I looked at the solution, I was like, I know I was close to this, but I missed something. And I feel like that the brick in the middle for the eye is what I missed. And it was like, man. So yeah, it was frustrating, but I get it. I respect it. I really feel like that
Absolutely.
It was necessary after the fact. A lot of these players, if they'll just give it a chance, they'll get to the end, they might respect it too. They might have been frustrated for however many hours, but then they'll look back and say, get that, okay. I would hope anyway.
Well, clearly it wasn't impossible, because he was telling me he found somebody posted a walkthrough. Was it in Japanese or Mandarin or something that you said you'd found, Inaki?
Yes.
So like,
yes,
did
yes.
he? So I mean, someone figured it out. Like, you know, they just had more patience, I guess, than the rest of us. You know, it was able to deduce it. So it's not impossible, guys. It's not impossible. You just gotta have a little patience.
It's doable. It's doable.
It's doable. Yeah.
It's just that your mind tricks you, because you tend to think that like the red glow is going to be error and the light glow is going to be okay. You're missing like the point of the puzzle, so you get distracted by the first like layer of information. But if you take a look at the hints, you understand that this information is valid for one purpose, but the solution is actually you need the second step to understand which brick it needs to be pushed or not. So it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube that you need to solve it without paying much attention to what you're actually doing, to just understand the rules of it. So it's kind of similar in that way, that you need to figure it out, even if what you are seeing is not directly or it looks like definitely good while you're doing it.
Right.
Funny thing is, this puzzle at the beginning was conceived as a totally different one. And when we were doing Q&A, people were saying to us, this is too easy. You need to change this a little bit. And then we introduced this Minesweeper mechanic. And
I need to see video of the too easy version, just FYI.
Nothing to do with the current version. It had like the peacock, and when you poke the peacock, some feathers were falling, and when feathers were touching a right brick, it was like there was like a glow in that brick. So you just needed to just keep poking the animal.
Oh, so people were kind of cheating. I gotcha.
It's like animal torture and
Oh, nice. I did admit after I got frustration, I did play with that peacock probably way too much. I'm like, you know what? Just kidding.
But on the bright side, we need to realize that thanks to that puzzle, many users came to the Discord channel or to the forum. So bad publicity sometimes is good publicity.
We all bonded, you know. We've all bonded from the PTSD of the wall, you know.
Now, speaking of the emotions that we've all kind of went through with the puzzles, and even that Quinn goes through, where did the idea of using the Hippocrates 4 temperament theorem come from? Because I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah, that came straight from the writer, from our screenwriter. We wanted to express visually somehow the roller coaster of emotions that Quinn was going through during this process of this journey. And it was like we wanted to express it with some sort of statistics at the very beginning, but it looked too much of a game. You know, you have like statistics. It was a little too straightforward, and everything in this game is a little different, or we try to do things like out of the box. Sometimes it ends in a good outcome. Sometimes it's weird, and you kind of reject it as a user, I guess. But we wanted to do something visually different, so she found this theory. We have heard of this theory in the past, but we never thought to include it right at the beginning. But then it was like a natural fit as well to reflect different moods of Quinn.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like that I had actually heard about it. I'm sure I've heard about it in passing, but actually studying it after the fact, I probably learned a lot just playing this game.
Right?
Because I learned more about, symbols from other countries. I did that. I even learned Morse code.
Right.
Geography.
Right.
Geography, right, yeah.
So I felt like I did a lot of research and learned quite a bit. So it was not only a fun game, but a learning experience.
Happy to know that.
Yeah.
It was for us while doing the game, actually, because we don't know all of that stuff from our heads, right? We do some research, and we find that symbol or this symbol, and we should include this or that. So it's been a learning process for us as well. So.
No, I like that you guys did it that way, because it just kind of made me as the player feel like I was actively doing more for Quinn. So it made me feel like I was more part of the game. So you weren't just splaying out every hint right there. It took me time to maybe Google, bring up a map and zoom in so I could see what, once you get to that part, like where in specific we're looking for, or Googling all of that up, or back in the day if you had encyclopedias or whatever. It actually made me feel like I was actively participating more in the game. Mm-hmm. So I loved that it wasn't just only in the game were all the hints,
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we need to go against the rules, because I remember, and our publisher, they are super cool guys, but one thing early on that they told us is that we should have everything in the game, because especially in consoles, for instance, people, if they need to get out of the game to find the solution, they are not going to like it. They are used to find solutions within the game. But you're free to do it if you want. So they allow us to do whatever we want to do, but they just give us recommendations. And in this case, we wanted to keep the essence of the puzzle. So if you need to find out where India is and how their numeric system looks, I mean, we think this is not that hard to go with your smartphone to
exactly. All that information is pretty quick to find now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who has encyclopedias anymore? I mean,
libraries.
I would love to meet that guy. So speaking of which, just to kind of divert slightly, how long have you guys been in the gaming industry?
Yeah.
Well, we started
2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was 2011. We made our first application, right? And then we did a bunch of mobile games. Dani was living in Sweden by then. We were in different countries, different works, and it was in our spare time. Eventually, we did a few more games, and we entered we won a contest here in Barcelona for startups. So we had like an incubation process, and then we moved to a different stage where we had some funding to create our company for real, and we were able to quit our jobs and just dedicate full time to making games. And then is when Stay started.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's been a learning process all the way, because this is our first PC and Mac game and Xbox, and so we have been doing mobile phones apps, but this is our first more complex and more tangible game.
Yeah.
Are you looking to port this over to any other consoles like the Switch or the PlayStation?
We
are not. Let's say we cannot. We are now focused on PC and Xbox, but anything can happen in the upcoming months.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, our lips are sealed.
In other words,
okay, sorry. I mean, I just know from PAX, everyone was saying the Switch is the way to go for indie games. So
I've noticed that I'm really happy that it's been lending itself to that. Honestly, I've been hearing more and more people starting to get more into indie games because they're like, it's so easy for me to download on my Switch, and I'm like, I'm extremely happy to hear that. So maybe keep tuned, right? Keep tuned.
Yes.
Join the Discord, you'll find out.
And one funny thing is that the game was initially conceived as a mobile game to work with notifications and the real-time aspect of it. But we all know that the mobile space is pretty crowded and it's very difficult to work with premium titles. For a bunch of reasons, we decided, if possible, to release it first on PC and consoles. And we were lucky enough to find the right partner to do so. So we changed a little bit the scope of the title. But initially, and in that sense, the Switch looks like a good fit, because we need to redesign our first idea of the game to make it playable on a PC or on a console. And the Switch, since it's portable and you can bring it with you, the real-time aspects elevates a little bit, because you can check on screen more often. Then on a PC.
Yeah, and also from an indie company perspective, you wanted to throw it to all the major consoles and Steam and everywhere. You need to have the game everywhere to get as much as downloads and as much money as possible to keep making games, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you need to start with the highest price point, of course. Mobile games are less expensive in general, so you need to start with the other platforms.
Yeah, and also because this game is being made with the Unity, and it's pretty straightforward to have all these little platforms. So you can develop once, and you can have the game on different platforms. It's not so difficult. So for us, it's like the right thing to do.
Before I ask one of my last two questions, Elise, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
Kind of touched on it a little bit, but I have to say though that what really drew me to the game, because I saw it at PAX, and I had the pleasure of meeting both of you gentlemen and discussing the game while I was waiting in line. What really drew my eye to it was the pixel graphics. Was there or reason why you decided to go that way as opposed to any other kind of design that you could have done? I mean, I know how I feel about it. I think it was perfect, but did it go through any other iterations?
Well, we said earlier that we are like newbies in the gaming industry. We came from design and programming backgrounds, and we did multiple things before doing games. So it was like a natural process for us to end up doing games. And in art-wise, we could have done any other 2D visuals, but since a few years ago, I started working a lot with pixel art, and all our mobile games were in pixel art too. So it's kind of our trademark, and we loved it because it takes us to our childhood and to our memories, and also because it gives us enough abstraction to express, to suggest more than express directly in viewers' eyes. So people just have like a little piece of information, they figure out the rest. And sometimes just a couple of pixels here and there change. It's like the queen's eyebrows. If they are like up or down, you express a lot with just a little minimal information. And for us, it wasn't even like a discussion. I mean, until clearly the market tells us that we shouldn't do more pixel art, then maybe we will jump into another art style. If that doesn't happen, we will keep doing always pixel art because
love it.
Yeah,
love it.
I mean, it's what we like to do, and that's what we do basically. And I even teach pixel art at university here in Barcelona. So it's getting more and more like lovers, even in the academic.
The younger
field.
generation starting to fall in love with it, seeing it brand new, probably for them for the first time.
Exactly. It's a different link or bond that they have with pixel art. They grew up with Minecraft. I grew up with Super Nintendo games or Amiga. So it's a different connection, but they still they appreciate it as any other art style. So maybe sometimes the people that have like 30 or 40 years that they know where pixel art comes from, they kind of reject it because they think that this was done already and we should move on to other stuff. But actually the younger generations don't have that process in their mind. They just look at it as graphics and it's another art style, right? So it's not technically, even if it's technically simpler, it's not worse. It's just another art style.
Right. No, I would say that I don't think pixel graphics will ever go away. I think it's a legitimate art form for what it is. You're still telling your story. You're still getting your game out. I'll defend it from here until eternity because it's still a way to tell your story. It doesn't matter if you've got the highest end graphics, 4K, whatever. Does that do a service to this story? Do we need that for this story? I don't think so. The way you have it presented is appropriate for what you're doing. So yeah, graphics do not make a game by any means. So I'm with you there. Stick with what you're good at there.
No, I think it was beautifully done. Yeah.
Without really saying, I guess, too much, do you guys have any other games you're kind of looking to do right now? Like any ideas you kind of got on the back burner? I know you're real busy with this one right now.
Well, we would love to make Stay 2 if this is successful enough. There's not all endings. I mean, there are a couple of endings that are quite open, so we could, and also our writer already wrote some draft on how this could move forward. She has already some ideas, and we had another project in mind, but it is a super large project that looks beautiful in our heads because it's narrative project as well, but it has control characters, so it's a completely different story in development wise. Yeah. So we really, in this, like Dani was saying, being in the studio, we need to be really careful with the decisions we make. And if we jump into a development, a project that's going to take 3 years, for instance, we need to really be sure that we are able to fulfill that and to have the team and the resources. So it's a little bit early. We have something in mind. So we have something in mind for Stay that is connected to Stay, and something that is completely different, but it has pixel graphics, and it has a ton of pixel graphics. That's what we can say. And we honestly think that what we would love to do in this new project hasn't been done yet. We need to do more research, but I think it hasn't been done yet, so it would be really, really cool.
Yeah, but if Stay goes well, like it's going, we'll probably do Stay 2. Yeah. I don't know how, if it's gonna have puzzles on it or not.
I know now I have so many questions, but I don't want to say anything because then it kind of spoils the end for people. So we'll have to talk afterward. balance.
I want to make a DLC for Stay which has only like different brick puzzles, one after another.
Yes!
Just to
charge it, but make sure it's more than the actual game. Just because I think that Discord discussion would be fun for me to watch. Probably horrible from your end, but I would grab popcorn.
No, I'm definitely intrigued now because I would like to know how that would go. But
right, I know we can't really extrapolate right now. Yep.
So outside of any, I guess, obviously you want the game to be successful, but do you have any other hopes for this game? Something you want it to achieve outside of just that it's popular and well received?
Well, it's a tough one to answer honestly because Dani said that perfectly. We need to make enough money just to keep it going. We are not chasing like being millionaires or like earning a lot of money. We just want enough just to jump onto another 2-year project. So every game starts from scratch, right? So you need to just have enough resources, not only to do the entire development, just to have like a little enough just to be able to have like a vertical slice or a prototype, so a publisher can trust in the game and can advance you a little bit more. So it's like a very gradual process. And our hope with the game, it was more than anything just to be able to release our first like complex or serious title in another big platform. It's our first, like Dani was saying, our first title on Steam, our first title for console. So this is already an achievement. If we are able to share the story and the majority of the users like that and give us like the credentials or the validation that what we are doing is good enough, that's our goal. That's for us, that's successful. Success is defined each one of us has a different like threshold for success. So for that, achieving that for us would be more than enough just to move forward.
Yeah, I would say that you never know how many copies are you going to sell, but just be able to finish the game and launch it as you conceived and as you wanted. For us, it's like a big achievement.
No, I've always said that if you can at least just make enough to keep feeding your passions, then you've made it, right? Like, I'm the same way. Like, I don't need to be rich. I just want to live comfortably and be able to do what I love. And that's amazing to hear. Yeah.
Sleep a little bit more.
Maybe. Well, give it like a couple months and then you'll get an extra hour, maybe.
Right. I mean, for I guess, granted, this is not my game, but I kind of hope for you guys that this game reaches someone in some way and on an emotional level, because when you really understand the conversation we've had, and I'd rather not again because it's spoilerish, but conversations we've had about the development, where the ideas came from, I feel like this could really connect to people emotionally if they'll just give it a chance. And I think they would be surprised in a way how much it actually could, because I don't really know how to go any
right without going into too much. No,
we all kind of experience in a way what Quinn goes through. So somewhere, some way, I would feel that someone out there is going to say, I get this guy. I feel like this guy, and I've connected with it. And maybe you'll get that message one day on Discord or wherever, on Twitter, says like, this game really touched me in a way so personal, and I really appreciate you guys for doing it, because I have no doubt I've
already seen some of those conversations happening, actually, where people really, it hit home what the overarching point of the story was, and it's not flooding yet, but I have seen those conversations happening, and it's really quite a beautiful thing when they start coming together and having that conversation together and making friends around this sort of thing. So again, like Stephen was saying, I do encourage you to keep on going and really paying attention to that story, because it's really touching. It's really got a nice message to say.
Yes, and it has happened already. Like the conversation that we have with you guys, and it was, I mean, when you take it a little bit of perspective, there was a guy in China that sent me a message, and we were like discussing a little bit. And this guy actually told me that he had learned a lot from the game, not from story perspective and things in life and so, but just just based on purely the gameplay and the pace that he needed to have to approach the game, and he needed more patience. And he told me, I'm a developer and I'm having like a really hard time with my partner because I'm very anxious and I'm very nervous and we are not doing so well with the game. And actually my partner recommended me this game. And after playing, I like learned a lot about myself, and now I have like a different approach in the different issues that we are having, and I gain more patience and I gain more resilience and stuff. So that was like amazing to me that a guy from the other side of the world has used the game just to improve himself as like in a behavior way. And that was like really, really touching. I mean, we didn't expect that. You just share your story and just want to have like good reviews and somebody tells you that.
Oh, that's fantastic though. Yeah. See, those are going to be some really fun things that you're going to have to talk about for a long time to come, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are universal ideas. Everyone can relate. So I think that's what really helps make it accessible to every player out there. So it's a great game, guys. I really hope for the best that it becomes something. I'm looking forward to the idea of Stay 2 because that just
like, I have so many questions.
Intrigue. I just want to know. I'm like, how would you do that? But I'm not going to say anything.
Right?
So no, thank you so much for your kind words, and it's, I mean, again, when we are developing this game for 2.5 years, we are a little bit into the blind. Sometimes you went to different events and you have good feedback, but honestly, you still don't know if you are doing some crazy thing that no one is gonna care about when you release it. So having just people just liking it and just supporting our project, it means like really a lot, and it makes it different for us. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's my pleasure.
I hate that I missed you guys at PAX. I don't know how I did that.
I think this was that time where we just like had split off for like that hour, you know, and wandering along.
Because we were trying to hit up everybody. We wanted to make sure, and I'm so glad we did.
Yes.
We found you guys, or at least she did.
But Lace has this eye for pixel art.
I know. Literally, I was just wandering down the hall, looking up, and I'm like, wait a minute. Walked right on over. There was, one guy in line. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait. I want to try this. I didn't even allow myself to finish the full demo because I had already known after like 3 or 4 chapters that I wanted to play the game, and I didn't even allow myself to finish the full demo because I wanted to make sure I was at home and gave it the full attention that I wanted to give it. So
that's when you know it's good. You're just like, nope. I gotta stop.
I gotta make myself stop.
Be here all day.
Yep.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you, and there's no words to thank both of you that you are doing for us. So, thanks again.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Yeah.
Anytime you are in Barcelona, you know that you can give us a call.
There we go. Go share a beer.
I've got an invite now.
There I know, right? There we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can discuss Stay 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you for your time. Maybe we'll get to see each other at another gaming event. We're going to make a habit of going, and fingers crossed to get to meet you sometime in person.
It will happen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we put it out there, it's still in launch week. So how long is it? You said 20% off?
It's 20% off until next Wednesday. And if you get the bundle, the soundtrack and the game, it raises up to almost 30% off. So combined, because the bundle has a 10% extra. So it's a nice moment to grab.
So 20% off through May 23rd, right?
Get out there and get this game. You'll do yourself a favor.
And have patience and listen to this story. You'll thank us
That's
later.
right.
and if you see a wall, don't
get upset.
Yeah, don't get upset. Don't get upset.
If you see the wall, you can search Lace videos on YouTube and
hopefully it's still relevant today. We'll find out when I open the game back up.
It is.
But yes.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well,
Okay. Thank
thank
you.
you for the interview, and
Thank you.
take care.